tree. All right.
I'm not participating in that.
Come on. What?
All right.
I have my limits. All right. Welcome to this live show or live adjacent show of PCH Pit. Before we get started, today's show will be going over a week 2 review for the Gwinnett and Lower Richmond or Richland events, and a preview for the week 3 PCH event in Columbus with South Carolina off this week. Before we get started, we have to make the usual disclaimer. Any views or opinions shared on this show are solely that of the individual contributor and do not reflect the views of PCH Pit, any FRC team, First, Georgia First, South Carolina First, or any of their affiliates and sponsors. So, the idea behind this show was to serve as an FRC talk show that focuses primarily on the Peachtree and First South Carolina districts. We're going to be talking about a variety of topics, so don't be surprised if you see us drop some hot takes. Ultimately, we're hoping to provide some entertaining and engaging discussions. So that being said, I'm Thomas Priego, and I'm a strategy mentor for Team 1833, Team Bean.
Hello, I'm David Allred. I am a mentor on 4451, and this past weekend I was a team support volunteer at the Lower Richland event.
Hi, I'm Brian Carlson. I'm with 6829 Ignite Robotics. I'm an electrical mentor there.
And I'm Joshua Drake, aka Pongo. I'm the drive coach and lead strategy mentor for Team 343 Metal in Motion.
And of course, we have our confirmed not a witch, confirmed not a ghost, but our unofficial spiritual leader of Pete. Did we say spiritual leader or spiritual advisor?
Spiritual, yes, our spiritual advisor.
Our spiritual advisor, producer Ian.
Yes.
Yes, with us, helping us out today. I'm thankfully not having to produce and host at the same time. So as we're getting into it, we have our week 2 reaction from the Gwinnett district. So I had the benefit of being there. It was a fun event, well run. I think we as Team Bean really like going to the event. It doesn't require a hotel for us, so it's just a really nice, well run. Discovery High School is an awesome venue. It's got some quirkiness when it comes to like how you get from the pits to the stands. As a spectator, you have to like leave the venue, or like go outside. But other than that, it's a really, really nice and well-run event. And it was just, I don't know what it was like spectating it, but I think I will say it was one of the weirder events I've ever participated in. Just because it was very clear that there were 2 teams at the event that were going to kind of walk away with it, with 1833 and 1771 just walking in and mopping the floor. I'm curious of like what thoughts you guys have, or what you guys saw and watched before I can like get into it.
So I was busy competing, but looking at the recaps, you could kind of keep up with it during the event, but looking at the recaps mostly, I mostly just saw Team Bean's EPA and OPR, and I was like, what? Is that right? I was like, what the heck? I saw 1771 there, and I just assumed that they would be the best robot there because that's what they normally do.
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of interesting as the event went on. I was, I didn't watch all of it, but I was trying to watch as much as I could. See the evolution of a lot more defense and being aggressive on defense, and teams starting to start playing a little differently and start seeing the game involved. But you still had a lot of teams that were first event, but they had the game has already gotten faster from week 1 to week 2. So it was interesting to see some of the speed of that, and some of the teams that we thought were going to do well, first event there, working out some ground limbs, getting their feet underneath them, and then get going and get into that race.
Yeah, I think that's really kind of the story of Gwinnett. As much as you kind of want to look at it and go, oh yeah, being in 1771, we're just head and shoulders above everyone else. Like there's also like the mid level of what you would usually expect just kind of wasn't there. I know 1648 was I think they had electrical gremlins and then mechanical gremlins, if I'm remembering correctly. 1683 ended up having major mechanical gremlins or issues. 1261, it took them a while to really work into the event, and it just felt like the level from that mid tier was not where it usually is at PCH, which is weird because usually, like you said or Josh said earlier, like you're used to 1771 being at that high level, but usually there's a robust middle of the pack, and that really wasn't. At least it felt like in looking at the OPR, EPA, and our scouting data, like the gap being as big as it was I think the biggest surprising factor. I know we went in and we on our first match scored 177, and that felt okay. That's about where we feel like we should be. And then all of a sudden we almost like were surprised by our own success. Like I think a lot of eyes are drawn to Quals 19 as like the best one of the better matches, but like from robot performance wise, you could like even we had some growing pains, and it was just weird in the sense of like I've just the event was I don't it's just weird. Like I don't I've never seen an event in PCH where it was clear that two robots were going to walk in and like they were just the clear favorites to win. I've been to events where it's like, oh, there's one robot, but then there's a fight to see who they get with, and there might be a combo. But like Gwinnett was just, without any other way to say it, like it was just a domination.
Yeah, one of the things, this year's game is simple and complex in a lot of different ways, right? It's been a long time since we've had a shooter like this. And with the advancement of software, teams are getting a little more aggressive in their choices. And I think you look at the bots that came there with G3, Techno Titans, and 1261, they start doing well the past several years, stretching a little bit, right? And so the turret sounds a little simple, right? But that now you got more software to put on there, and so on an early season, although they may not have held schedule as far as their build schedule like they would have wanted, I think coming out of this and going to the next event, you're going to start seeing jumps in performance there because they're going to have that time to get those turrets tuned in and tweak those little mechanical things that they had problems with.
Yeah, and like you definitely saw an Elim's team start turning it up. And like the defense on day 2 got ratcheted up to like 1,000. I think in finals 1, I think it's the 3 seed with 1648 and 4189. Who 4189, I think, come DCMP, once they've had some more drive time to work out some mechanical things on that robot is scary. Let me tell you, the like watching them, like the few times that they got that thing working, it is wicked good. But then they ended up breaking and missing finals 1. Got a backup bot called, and they ended up playing triple defense in finals 1. And like it was a fun event. I definitely by no means want to take away. I think 1683, that robot, as much as in my eyes, I think it underperformed a little bit to what its potential is. I have no doubt that come Gainesville, they're going to be operating at a higher level. It's just for me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter for when. for them. And now for Howard's sake, they still Techno Titans kids. You still kind of have to work hard to get there. But like the robots, I feel like what made Bean, though our robot, like Bean the robot is I would like it has some complexity to it, but it's like a pretty simple idea of just like we borrowed a whole I'm not going to try and list off what we borrowed because I can't remember. That wasn't really what I worked on, but like we went with something that's pretty simple and just executed it. So we're looking at and expecting, like, even 1771, a lot of those teams that bit off more complex ideas and designs to kind of improve and catch up. I think DCMP, looking forward to DCMP and second events, those are going to be pretty killer. I don't really think PCH is a foregone conclusion at this point.
Yeah, I just took a look at 4189 just real quick, and their first cycle, I saw them shoot, and I was like, "What? Where was that all weekend? That was crazy."
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely, like, I think the name for Gainesville is, I think there were 2 robots that had gotten their robot to the point that they wanted, and a bunch of teams that were still trying to work things out and get there. So I think as we get progress, like, a lot of these teams aren't playing again till week 4 or week 5, so they definitely have time to get in the shop, get in the programming, and get stuff ironed out. I know, talking to Howard on 1683 and on, I think, young Eric, not older, not Eric Kaufman, but other Eric on 1648. Both
Eric
of
Boyle.
them, Eric Boyle, both of them, like, they were already having, the teams were already having good ideas of where they needed to go in the future. So, like, I have zero doubt that the next couple events are going to be really, really fun. So other things of note from the Gwinnett event, we have the winning alliance being the 1 seed of 1833 as the captain, their first pick 1771 North Gwinnett, and the rookie bot from Denmark High School in Alpharetta, Georgia, 11174, the Denmark Danes. Impact was won by 4509, which I believe was their first Impact win of all time, if I'm looking. Yeah, their first Impact win and their second Blue Banner ever, which is super cool and a great achievement. EI was won by 1833, so they completed the gold, silver, cling bling, is, I think, what Fun calls it. I can't remember. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, and then no rookie all-stars were awarded. As for, like, the ranking game, I think it was just a continuation of Dalton, and looking elsewhere, like, everywhere is just a continuation of just the ranking game is shoot more.
How many supercharged did y'all get at that event?
There were 4, I think.
4 total?
Yeah, so Bean, no, I think it was
In
3.
qualification?
I think it
Okay.
was 3. Bean and 1771 got one together, and then they each got one separate, if I remember correctly.
Okay, a total of 3 supercharged. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's because Bean got one in quals 19 and qual 35, and then 1771 got one in qual 19 with Bean and qual 43 with 4189.
Yeah, it lists 3 on Blue Alliance.
Yeah. So, and it, like, it was a fun event. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't really know what more there really is to say. It was fun. We had fun. Like, we're super proud of the kids. And, like, we look forward to seeing how everyone else goes. It's just, like, I don't know if you guys have anything more to add.
I think you described it very well so far.
Yeah, I just so there, one interesting tidbit, and I think one interesting line of, like, there were instances where it wasn't as a foregone conclusion. I think there was there was some coolness, and with like one area I think that does bear weight and some teams should consider is there was a period of time where 1683 actually had the inside line to seed first at the event for a significant portion of day one, because they had the schedule where I don't think they played against 1771 or 1833. And it wasn't until like they ended up having, I think it wasn't until they broke, and they ended up dropping some RP from breaking. But up until that point, there was a significant chance, and Bean was looking at it of if Bean didn't if Bean lost to 1771 because 1771 had dropped and lost earlier in the day, that 1683 might have jumped Bean and broken up that group of two. So like teams, even if there's an event where there's a dominant force, I think Georgia and PCH in general is littered with examples of where another team outranks them and is able to split that up. I think memory serves way back in 2019, 14-14 seeded first and split 29-74 and 49-10. I think the same thing happened at the first event too, where 40-26 seeded first and split them up. So these, you can still have control and still win these events. It's not you still have to play the game.
Yeah, this year especially.
Yeah. But with that, David, it looked like you had one heck of an event going on in South
it was
Carolina,
a wild
Richland.
Yeah, it was a wild one. So, so this is the first ever Richland district event at Lower Richland High School, home of I think it's 3915, the Electric Hornets, and they put on hosted a very good event for us, first time at that venue. And again, this is the our second year as a pure district, and we added this third event. So as we grow, we need to bring in teams from other states, and so we had a team from Indiana, two from North Carolina, and Lambda out of Georgia. So first of all, big congratulations to Team 2815, the Blue Devil Mechanics, on their first ever Impact Award win. I'm surprised that it took them this while to recognize this team. This team has been a staple in our state for hosting events, FLL, FPC. They are co-host of Screw. They are fully engaged in all of the first levels in South Carolina. So big congratulations to them. Engineering Impact was picked up by 4451 Robots Garage. I believe that's their second Impact EI. I'm sorry, Engineering Inspiration or whatever it's called. The EI award. I think that's their second ever. And then 11368, the SCTC Zeta Bots out of Sumter picked up a Rookie All-Star. So right now we have two Rookie All-Stars heading to states to battle for the one slot for Houston. The event winners was Alliance 2, captained by 4451 Robots Garage. Their first pick, 8575, the Due Westerners. That's their second win. And then 10-388, the Iron Wolverine Angels, which is a B team of the legendary Iron Wolverines that have been around in South Carolina for a while. And so that was their first win. Finalists were 1758, the Technomancers. They brought a really good machine and were ranked first and second for most of the event, and I think fell to third. And so they captained the third alliance with 5484 Career Academy Robotics, the Wolfpack out of Indiana. And then a 9005 Avian Robotics out of North Carolina. So a real interstate alliance took it all the way to the finals, where 5484 also picked up a judges award for helping a new rookie team, 11475, the Dog Bots, build their kit bot at the event. This team from Indiana is really organized, well organized team. Brought a lot of people. I think they said it was a 14-hour bus trip. Not too bad. And they, that's the second week in a row we've had teams from Indiana. So I really like the Indiana connection. Another couple of notes here. Another rookie team, 11-308 Daniel Morgan Patriots, were the rookie captain of the 4th Alliance. So at their first event. And also, by the way, they were like 7th in OPR at the event with the pure kit bot. So they were on a steep learning curve, but seemed to blend in very well and did a very good event. One other note that was kind of interesting, we knew Lambda was coming up from Georgia, and they was scouting their robot from their first event, and they brought a different robot. I guess it's their B robot or whatever. So they come walking in with this kit chassis with a kind of a variant of the Everybot, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was an Everybot.
Yeah,
it wasn't a pure Everybot because I think it was a slight variant.
There were some upgrades to it.
Yeah, it had some upgrades, but yeah, so they could put up a bunch. Their only issue was maybe ball jams, but if they unleashed that hopper, they could score a lot.
Yeah, one of their mentors is an alum of 1833, Christian, and he was saying
yes.
They competed under the Lambda name, but that was Gamma, their B team competing.
Yes.
So that was so yeah, that definitely was them and their.
Yeah. So surprise to the pre-event scouts.
Yeah.
But they did very well. They were playing a solid game. The Gamma people, I guess. What are your thoughts, Josh?
One of the better run events in a long time. The venue was very, very good because most of the time at South Carolina events, whenever you're at like some random high school, the seating is pretty bad. But the nice ring around the arena for like no matter where you were sitting, you could actually see the field very well. That's some of the best seating that I've ever seen in robotics. Apart from that, I do have exactly one complaint, and that is the speakers behind the Red Alliance wall were pointed at the drive teams, and there were times where like I'm like actually plugging my ears because the game announcer is way too loud. I can't hear anything else. It was so but that, other than that, it was really, really good, really well.
I mentioned it on Thursday night's planning call, but no. Thanks.
I'm about to say, if only you knew somebody that might have.
You don't even have a planning committee.
Our entire drive team complained about it on our survey. So,
all right, we got the hint. Thank you.
Yeah, usually it's the opposite. I remember being on. I know this is way back, but like being on Drive Team in 2019, and people asking me, "Oh, what's it like down there? Is this so loud?" And it's like I can't hear the game announcers at all because all of them are focused like far out, and you actually only hear the crowd because that's what's pointed towards you. So usually most places do a pretty good job of making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So other things to note, right? I knew going in that there was, a lot of the usual suspects. The South Carolina will be there, so luck favors the prepared, right? So, I just didn't know who would be the most prepared. I would say the Technomancers and 1287, the aluminum assault, were probably seemed to be a little bit more ready with their robot. Other people were improving across the event. 1102 was there improving, 281 was there improving, 343 improved quite a bit over the course of the event when they dialed in their shooter. They've got a great feeding strategy as well. So the teams at their first event were still working out some kinks. But because of it, 1287 did rank first and just kind of went out on a kind of a glitch match. That happens, right? So there was some really tight matches in the playoffs due to robots either beaching themselves, going out for surfing, or something got stuck or something disconnected or whatever. So there was a bunch of little glitches that prevented some of the teams to, finish the performance in playoffs. So be prepared. This game, once you get behind, it's hard to catch up.
Yeah, we had there were, I think it happened to us 3 times where we would build up enough static electricity through our spindexer on our robot that eventually one of the fuel would like pick up enough of the static, and it would just go like our main breakers right behind our kicker, and it would hit through the kicker and have too much static electricity on it, and it would short the whole robot.
Yeah.
That happened to us like 3 or 4 times. It was very we finally fixed it on our last match of the day, in a playoff match where the FDA gave us something called Staticide. So we put it around our spindexer and it worked great. But 5 seconds into that one, 1287 died. So
Yeah. So
you
you
win
guys
some, you
got
lose
going in
some.
1287, right? So it was one of those things where, everybody wasn't clicking on all cylinders yet. I'm looking forward to week 4. I'm sure these teams will have it worked out and they'll be duking it. They'll be duking it big time.
Yeah. Yeah, apart from that, our robot did get a lot better. We were a little bit worried because during all of our drive practice, our turret worked, and then qualification 1, the first one that we played, about 30 seconds left into the match, our turret spun too far and started ripping out the cables. So we had to turn off the turret for the rest of the event. So we were no auto aim. All we had was a linear distance calculation, I believe, is what our programmers said, and our driver was like manually just he was manually aiming all of it. It was awesome.
Yeah, but then they got it dialed in towards the end of the event and they started hitting shots as well as, so the computer was shooting.
There was
Again, it's
one
little things, the
match.
software. We had a camera go out, I think twice, maybe. Once for part of the match and once for the whole match. So it was. There's just a lot of little things that are preventing teams from performing their best right now.
Yeah.
I'm excited for week 4 as well.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great event.
I'll be pushing fuel.
I think one of the interesting things is I've seen is there is no fear of the bump, and even trench spots will go flying over the bump. And so as teams do that more and more and get more aggressive and the game gets faster, making sure all your connectors stay connected.
Yeah, and not only that, making sure you don't jump on a pile of balls. I think at Gwinnett, I think it was finals 1, 17-71 ended up. It was like funny where they got beached on an entire thing of balls. It might have been finals 1, or it's like it might have been the match we had in Elam's against 1683. Yeah, it was not finals 1, but the match right before. But 1771 ended up crowd surfing and like driving on top of a bunch of balls.
Yep.
And not being able to get off. And I think that's something that I don't think teams anticipated, of like when balls get like bunched up like that on edges. If you're on the edge, you're typically kind of able to work your way off.
Yes.
But if you're in like the middle of a big C, you can kind of like drive on top and then get stuck, and like where you're not able to move. And they ended up like crowd surfing, and I think Bean, in our effort to get on beach them, ended up like we tapped them and then they slid on top of the balls deeper into
Even
the
more,
pile,
right? Yeah.
Which is like that aspect of the game is I think is a lot more scary than even we said, of like you need to be aware and you need to know you need to carry enough speed if there's a risk, especially later in games, where if like at the end of your another team's shooting cycle where you're going back over and they've just finished shooting, so all of the balls have rolled to your side, jumping over, you definitely run the risk, and you need to be aware because you can end up stuck on balls for who knows how long.
We had a strategy for that. It was a patent pending. Be 135 pounds with your bumpers on. Be as absolutely heavy as you can, because
switch the fuel down to get one wheel on the
we
carpet.
were probably the only robot at our event that never got beached, and I attribute it entirely to our steel bumpers.
Well, like Bean, we got beached a couple, I think once, maybe twice, and we're in your boat too. Of like I think we're pretty close. I know we're pretty close to max weight, too. So like, getting beached on fuel is no joke. Um, it's definitely something a lot of teams need to be aware of and consider as they're clearing that bump.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Coming into week one, I was like, oh my god, if you get stuck on fuel more than once or twice, you're not going to get picked, right? And look at how the game's playing. It's just part of the game. It's just like somebody's can get beached, just knock them off, keep going, and just drive drive it like you stole it, right? Just drive it like crazy, right? Go fast, or go home, right? And so I think getting stuck on the fuel is not as big as I thought it would be, and it happens. All teams, it happened to everybody. Just be ready for it. And if you're pushing somebody off, realize that your bumpers are on the ground, theirs are not. They might be coming in.
Yeah.
One
So-
more bit of advice. When you're crossing the bump, if you go intake first and you're holding down intake and your wheels are spinning, then that proved to be very, very successful for us and not getting beached.
Yeah, being able to like intake that first row of balls as you're going over.
Yeah, yeah.
You went over it straight, or you went over it a diagonal?
We kind of went over it both ways. We found that we didn't really have any trouble with the bump. So towards the end of the event, our driver would go intake first over the bump, just like straight over it, and we would just hold down intake, and we'd land on a bunch of fuel. But again, that first layer, that first line, would always go inside of our robot, and we would just push the rest out of the way.
Cool. Give that a try at the shop.
Yeah. Yeah, the getting beached is. I think
Yeah.
even the Poofs got beached in one or two of their matches.
Yeah, they got beached once at least.
It happened in Madtown, High Tide, Grey Bot. It happened to every Cali team.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
to joke that our driver will lead belly pan first. Just go,
Yeah, and that's
Oh.
honestly what gets a lot of teams. Like if you jump the bump to where like all four wheels are off the ground, that's what leads to some of the worst beaches, because then like you can end up with nightmare scenario. Like this is what happened to 1771, where they have four balls underneath their belly pan. Instead of like having it to where there's one like on the edge, they had four like almost in the exact middle that like held their robot up.
Also, I guess maybe some of you saw the Chief Delphi thread about the California yellow card on the Cheesy Poof Alliance. Y'all see that one?
I saw that they got one. I did not see what it was for.
So, did anybody else see that one? I'll explain it.
You go ahead and explain it.
So they the Cheesy Boots second pick was playing defense. They were a swerve defender, and they were playing against the tall robot. I think the Warrior Borgs or something like that. And so they were playing bump defense, kind of how I thought it would be played, where you park the robot right at the hub, either inside the zone or outside of the zone, depending on if you're trying to stop transitions for a tall bot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the bot would be at the hub and then juke back and forth as they were trying to figure out where the tall bot was coming out at. So they juked. So this one was when the robot was coming into the zone. So they juked over, and as they juked over, the tall bot went over wheels in the air, landed on top of the defender, and almost tipped over. The only thing that kept them from tipping over was the trench sidewall. And so they kind of got jammed sideways. And now the defender robot can't get out from under them because they got a robot on top of them. They literally can't drive anymore. And the robot on top couldn't drive anymore. And so they ended up with a yellow card for that. And some people were wondering why that wasn't a red one. And then the very next match, same thing happens, except it wasn't a tip over. The tall bot landed on top of the bumpers, in this case, of the defender, coming out of the zone into the neutral zone, and got stuck on top of that. And then you could see the refs hold up a flag and kind of go, what is that call? Who's pinning who? And so there's a debate on it. My opinion was, well, if you allow a robot to just send it with no worry about penalties or anything, I can just literally leap over, and they're going to get the defender's going to get the red card. What the heck's up with that? So I don't know where this is going, but the GDC better clarify this very quickly.
Yeah, and I think like the good news there is, as much as this is the team's like week 2 event, that's the refs week 2 event. And though I think like the refs should be prepared, there is some element of, and this happens every year where there's elements of games where they do have to go in, and I think there was even clarification after week 1 about contact
Yes, there
in the
was.
frame perimeter because of all the teams that are doing the expandable hoppers.
Right. So if both teams are moving, they both hit. Who's at fault?
Yeah.
There's no fault. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this case, they haven't really dealt with the bump and people getting airborne and coming down on top of a robot yet.
Yeah, because
Because
most
they're
of the
thinking
time,
bumper to bumper and right in contact inside the frame perimeter. How about my robot inside your frame perimeter?
because I think this is the first time where there's an obstacle like the bump where they didn't make the obstacle a safe zone. Because typically in the past it was, like,
2012 it wasn't.
well, in modern
True.
FRC, David, I was in elementary school that year.
Okay.
But
in that year, people would defend the bump. It was much harder to get on top of another robot, but it did happen. And then there were those bridges that people could drive over. And somebody tried to stop a robot that got up on a bridge from coming off the bridge, and the bridge landed on top of that robot, and they said, "Aha, you can't leave." And the robot said, "No, I can." And they just kept driving. The bridge was a foot in the air, and they just Dukes of Hazzard right off that sucker. So this has been done before, but we need some clarification.
Yeah. So with that being said, we do have an event. Though South Carolina has the privilege of taking a break, here in the Peachtree District, we do not. We do have an event this year in Columbus, Georgia. It's the first year PCH is going back to Columbus since 2022, and we're back in the hockey arena that we haven't been to since, I think, 2016. You're more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but I will not see the correction, so have fun with that.
I still have PTSD from 2016.
Yes, I do too.
You turn a little bit and you brown out.
Yeah, they have said, for those who don't know, because you weren't around like us when the floors were dirt and dinosaurs roamed the earth. The venue that Columbus is being in this year is in an ice hockey arena. And in 2016, they have, I think, Georgia First has said that it's a different floor covering, so they shouldn't have the same issue. But the floor covering they had that year ended up having a little bit of give to it, so your wheels would sink like a quarter of an inch into the carpet. So when you would turn and this is back in the days of like your drivetrain was 2 sims or 3 mini sims, and it wasn't like the brushless days. And as you would turn, your voltage would spike and your battery would brown out because of all the added friction of sinking into the carpet. Which again, this shouldn't be an issue. I think they've changed what the floor protectors are, and that it will be a bit chilly in the venue, so pack your jacket. The ice will still be there, so it'll still be quite chilly down on the floor. But we do have some teams and robots to look out for. Though there was an event held, since the event was so long ago, we don't really have any defending champions of the Columbus event. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about there's some robots to look out for. In terms of robots, that it's their first event. It's 4188 at Columbus Space Program and Team 1414 IHOT's first event this year. And then we have 2974, 6829, 4026, and 7451 competing in their second event after competing all together at Dalton. So Brian, why don't you give us the rundown as you're looking and leading into going to the Columbus event?
Yeah, I think with the 2 week turnaround, we're going to see which teams were able to look at taking lessons learned from Dalton, making adjustments to their robots. You really saw at the end of Dalton, everybody sort of coming online after that, first 6 matches or so. So I think you're going to see some real competitive matches early on there. I'm really interested to see 4188 Columbus Space Program being at their home venue. And maybe they don't have jet lag having to go like 2 hours over there since they're staying there. Um, but I'm also kind of interested to see how the game sort of evolves, right? I think the Auton Award rights for the middle, more teams doing that. Uh, and so, I know we made minor tweaks because of the short turnaround of 2 weeks. We didn't want to get too aggressive and then bring something that wasn't fully ready. So we will have some improvements, but we're going to be looking at more doing stuff after Columbus is trying to make some larger improvements. We'll see how those sort of pan out. I know Walton, I've seen, what's over at DE the other day. They're making improvements too. So I think you're going to see a good, strong 6 or 8 teams that are going to probably be there at the end that are going to make some real good showings in playoffs.
Yeah. I think this is definitely going to be a very entertaining event. I think Dalton is probably my vote for the most entertaining event so far this year. Um, out of the two Georgia events that have been held, I think South Carolina Richland has probably been the more entertaining with having the 2 seed versus the 3 seed in finals.
Yeah, there were
Has
there were
been
3 alliance that could have won that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one has probably takes a cake for me this year. Though PCH District Champs will wipe the floor with anything you guys do, but we
Hey,
just
we
have to
don't
get
have
there
a
first.
turret yet. Hey, you haven't seen
Um,
us with the turret.
so I think I think this event is definitely one that can produce 2 to 3, potentially dare I say 4 alliances that can go the distance based on what we've seen this year. I think if you don't expect market improvements from Walton, from Ignite, from 7451, you're insane. I think 4188 had shown off a really good robot on reveal night on this podcast not too long ago, and they've had 2 weeks to work on it and refine it. And it's their hometown event. So I think those are that's 4 teams right there, and I definitely can expect. Though IHOT had a down year last year, they definitely are a team that has the potential to have something that's at or on par of those other teams. Um, so I think we are really looking forward to looking at it as we start looking at, and I know Bean starts preparing, um, starts doing our pre DCMP and pre Gainesville scouting, because a lot of the teams that were not at Gainesville that are going to be at or that are going to be at Gainesville were either at Gwinnett with us or going to Columbus. So it's definitely shaping up to be a fun event. It'll be interesting to see where the comparison between the teams where it's their first event versus the teams where it's their second, to see how that plays out. But other than that, it's looking like it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I know you got some other on the impact side. You got 33, 36, 35 Flying Legion always do well on the field, and one I think it was Impact last year. Walton coming in there, so I think you're also going to see some really good teams being recognized on the culture side and on outreach.
Yeah. So a really fun. Looks like it's going to be a really interesting Columbus event. With that being said, a brief recap of the Thomas's Donut Shop. Um, Listen, at this point, I got to lean into it. I got people I've never even seen before. Now, typically, the people who will give me crap about the donuts, like they've been doing it for a couple years, looking at you, Tom Cleveland, judge for Georgia First. But like I got people coming up to me. It used to they would give me donuts. Now they just make fun of me and expect me to give them donuts, which is not really the expectation or the understanding of how that relationship's supposed to work. But we do have a couple bets hit this week. With how long will it take for the first Supercharge RP to happen in your district? With Kellen, Brian, and well, I guess Josh, you're a different district.
Yep.
But Kellen and Brian both of them hitting on week 2. Sadly, Ian's prediction of DCMP did not make it. It'll be interesting to see if if a supercharge happens again until DCMP. But that'll be interesting. And then it looks like the most amount of fuel scored by Alliance. It looks like in our district,
Ian's gonna win.
Yeah, Ian's probably. It looks like Ian's gonna win because we've already had what a 5-11.
Yeah, Ian or Thomas, right?
Yeah, so it definitely looks like. In that note, I honestly think we won't really see high scores in the 700s until we get to DCMP. Because if you look at the high scores that were happening at the Gwinnett event, what ends up happening is the 1771 and 1833 end up slowing down because other teams aren't able to recycle a lot of fuel fast enough. So all the fuel ends up on the opposite side of the field, and makes it slow down. So it'll be exciting to see once we get a little bit deeper events. I'm definitely feel like in order to push the scores that we're seeing in California, in order to get a score of 700, you almost have to have a team on the other side scoring 2 to 3. So 100 balls, that is, not 2 to 3 total.
1, 2, 3. All right, we're done.
All right, yeah. No, 2 to 3.
Stop the shooter. Hey, stop.
And also, that's crazy. I showed the game to my dad today, and he'll watch like exactly one match a year. But he looked at this one as like, so how many balls are you scoring? And I was like, oh, our Alliance scored 500. About 200 in this match, 300. Our Alliance is doing really well. And he's like, wait, you're scoring 300 times. So it's definitely taking an adjustment in our vernacular. But I definitely think to push those high scores that you're seeing elsewhere, the floor kind of needs to rise with it. So it'll be exciting to see how both districts go. It looks like David might be the only one who's right that the 6 RP match is never going to happen. I don't think it'll happen worldwide. So I looking around, I don't know if you guys have seen it or if anybody wants to yell at me in the various manners at which you can, either in person or online. But I would be interesting to expand the bet of, do you guys think there's a 6 RP match ever this year?
So so here's the thing, right? If you want a strategy to go into DCMP and you have the ability to do it, right? Build a climber, right? Because if you can get those climb points, you can climb up the rankings and potentially break up the Alliance, right? And so, I know some other teams outside the district are like, if we go to Worlds, we're going to want to have a climber there potentially because we want to be able to control who we pick, right? And so if you look at 1771, they have a cutout for the West Coast Products climber that just goes up to the edge and comes straight down. So I see they're planning for it, and we saw a couple of level 1 climbers at Dalton, right? So right now it's not going to be all that important, right? Maybe there's going to be enough of a gap where it's not going to be all that valuable to try to do a couple extra ranking points because if Bean and North Gwinnett are that much ahead, right, and just on getting supercharged RPs, we can't catch up. That's a different story. But I think the only time you really see it's going to be at DCMP or if you get a lucky with 1771 deciding to put a climber on for Albany and happen to get paired up with just the right alliance, because I think
But
they
like
can get the 5.
the thing that prevents it is like even if you add it, in order to get it, you either have to have two. If you're adding an L1 to get that RP, you have to have two L1 in Auton and two L1 in Teleop, or you have to have at least
No,
at least
you need
one robot.
No, that's what I'm
one in
saying.
all time.
0 6 rank points in Georgia and South
Yeah.
Carolina.
Yeah, like I think David's right.
Zero.
Because you have to get 50 points. So that's the 2 15s in Auton and 2 10s, or you have to have a team that climbs the rung.
True.
And still have, a climb in Auton, or you need 2 other robots to climb. Like I just don't think that's the one area of this game I wish the GDC had improved on. Because like it being worth 10, 20, and 30 points just isn't worth it. Like the challenge that it is, if you want teams to do it, it makes a lot more sense to make it 25, 50, 100, or 25, 50, 75. Like then I think you would see a lot more people try it. But I think it's telling that you look at the teams that you usually see we're going to do everything because we can, even like that did they did the trap in 24 and they did all of this other things, and like the Poofs don't have one, 1678 doesn't have one, Mactown doesn't.
1678 technically has an L1 climb. But it's part of their extendable hopper, and I don't think they have climbed.
Yeah. Like it's, or like you have teams like you said where it's a part of this other thing that's more important, and they haven't used it in that like. And I think like the teams that have designed around it worldwide have been hurt. Like 118 does not look like it. Definitely looks like their robot is not where it should be. So like the climb being where it's at is just kind of weird. That it almost seems like they kind of added it just to say, hey, we added a climb. Like they built it. They wanted to build a shooter game, and like it's like when your teacher adds a requirement last minute, so you just slap something on there to say you did it.
Yeah. The one thing I'd like to see that they can't now, right? But the one thing I think they made a big mistake on with this was what is the tiebreaker after ranking points, right? Because right now the tiebreaker is average match score, right? Not Auton. And so average match score, it ends up being who had a better schedule to had more robots to help them on their alliance than everybody else. Because
instead of their own autonomous performance. Yeah.
Right. And it's like you put autonomous first.
I didn't really see it that way, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like that was something that was that was telling at Gwinnett. Like you could see the teams that had played. Also, the way the Gwinnett schedule worked was kind of weird. I know we played against 1648 3 times at that event and played with them. I think one, like it was weird how you kind of like you had your cluster of teams you just played with or against over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So you could
kind of do Westerners.
Like you could tell like, oh, these are the teams that have like their average they've played with being a couple times, or they've played with being in 1771, and their match score, like their average match score would be higher, and then you'd have the teams that hadn't had it and their average. Like I do agree with Brian in that regard. I liked how, as much as I'm very happy cooperation is gone because of like the weird games teams would play with it, I honestly feel like the I like Auton score should probably be the better, because that tends to stick with one specific team instead of So
Anyway,
but fun event.
Any other final thoughts here we got for the night?
There's a cat.
I think, there's a cat.
She had something.
What's the cat thing?
I'll say the one thing that GDC got really spot on right is this is a fun game to watch.
Oh yeah.
You could show it to anybody and they're like, you see somebody like 1771, Link, Bean, all the top the teams that do well at Worlds, and they're like, oh, that's a good shooter. And they see one of those, like, and their face just like, oh my god, how can they throw so much up, right? So it's a very exciting
like
game.
when I showed my parents, I mentioned my dad earlier, but like I casted it. My dad, I watch all my football games at my parents' house because they have like this TV that was blessed by God. It's massive, it's glorious. But I put the matchup on there, and my dad got real close to kind of watch it, and he goes to the start of the match, and you see 1771 and Bean go to the middle and go back, and then you see he sees Bean open up with their 4 lanes, and he just kind of takes a step back. It's like, holy word, I cannot say on the show. And it's just like showing it to people, like showing it to other teachers at my school and just people who have never seen FRC before. This game is the funnest to watch, like
Yeah,
to watch
this
that
is
they've
a fun
seen in a
game. It
while.
still is a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
And especially if it's tied at the end, the audience is going crazy.
Yeah. Like I think they did a good aspect of the fact that it's not, you can't run away with it because there are periods of the game you have to stop scoring. So the periods of like in a close match where one alliance takes the lead and it's like, oh, is that a big enough buffer for when the next alliance goes and they take the lead, and then they like tit for tat, and then they're both going off. And elims, like this game can and will be so much fun once we get to the deeper areas and deeper events.
Yeah, I showed this game to my daughter, and she's like, because she was in it from 2014 to 2017. She's like, why couldn't we have a good game like this? She's like, oh, this is a fun game.
2017 was a really good game.
Well, the way I explained it to her was, take 2017, take the gears out of the equation, the things that you can't really finish, and just focus on fuel. That's what this game is.
Yeah.
That year, 2017, the clowns are opposite. You didn't have that. You're screwed.
Oh yeah, the climbs being 50 points.
The 50 points done.
Yeah, and I think.
And I listened to one of the there was a conference in the off season by WPI or something like that, and they had a person on from the GDC, and they said the feedback they got was the favorite game everybody loved was 2017, and I think this is going to make that one look still okay, but this one's just a lot more fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I think. Yeah, and I think the only thing this game has, I think if you take the climb out of this game, this would be one of like the better games of all time. I think this would be up there with 2015. As like some of the best games of all time.
Yeah.
It already is, but I like, for me, 2014 still holds the cake.
I'm a 2013
I think
truther.
I think when you get to the second half of the season and strategy starts shifting and you start getting more ways of playing this game, can I look at just starving you, right? I think that's going to show some very interesting aspects to this game that we haven't had a chance to enjoy yet. Just say like, oh my God, they're going to outshoot us, and it's like, no, we're just not going to let you have fuel.
We're gonna win Auton, take all the fuel, and say,
yeah. Like,
good luck.
Yeah. Was it, I think, Jack in the Bot, right? All you do is shoot everything off to the side. They don't care about scoring an Auton, right? Now all the fuels in my alliance zone, I can just score like crazy. I'll go first. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm not sure that's working out for him.
Yeah.
I think it might later.
Go
give them time.
The story.
The only issue is when you score it, not in Auton, you give it, like, in order for that to work, you almost have to have the lead in Auton, so you don't have to immediately give the balls back.
Exactly.
If you're trying to go that strategy.
We'll see how it works out.
We'll see how it works out. There's definitely a lot more of this game to go. If we didn't mention your team this go around, we're sorry. We hope to catch you the next time. We'd love to hear. I personally enjoy it when you guys reach out and tell us your own like stories of how you experience the event. So feel free to do so, and we'll try to work them in as we can. With that being said, have a great rest of your week. to the teams competing week 3. Link is competing, and they watch it, and I think they're competing week 3 in North Carolina, if that's
Yep.
correct.
I'm
So
pretty
good luck.
sure.
Yep.
Good luck to them if they're listening.
Yes, they like.
If Link, if you're listening, send us the message Razmataz. That's my favorite Crayola crane.
No.
color, by the
Send
way.
us the message. Dozen Donuts DoorDash.
Yeah, like
I'll
Wait.
give you my
send me
address.
Krispy Kreme donuts hotline on. You know where to
They
find me.
are
Yes.
at Wake County Event 2.
Also,
Yeah.
Link, can I please do an internship with you guys during the summer? I'll move to Hendersonville for 8 months. Teach me everything you know.
So with that, I think that's enough Link glazed that we will that we can have. So we will see you all next week. Have fun.
Hold up.
Ian in the thing.
Waiting for the poltergeist.
It's
No,
technically,
spiritual advisor.
It's technically done, but I
spiritual
have to wait to
advisor.
click the stop streaming button until we actually see